Do you ever feel like I do? Like you don't actually really know what you're doing, that you're kind of faking it on the page, and if you've had any success, you probably don't really deserve it. You're not really that good. You don't really know what you're doing. You don't know how to write a book. That, my friends, is imposter syndrome. And I suffer from it as much as you guys do. I'm sure a therapist would give me 100 different reasons why I do, but I think being insecure about your work is part of being a creative person. And you have a choice. You can either use that to stop you from writing anymore, or you can use it as fuel to learn how to write even better. I have a t-shirt that you can buy that says "Feel the fear and write anyway," because that's really my motto when I get really worried about whether I can do this or not. Now let's break down some of the common components of imposter syndrome and exactly what to do to get over it. First of all, feeling like you don't know what you're doing. That happens to me regularly with the technology with my YouTube channel. But every time I've ever had to learn a new skill, I felt like I couldn't master it. And then when I was trying to publish my first book, I wrote 10 books in 8 years that got rejected everywhere. I have a video about the 250 plus rejections that I got. And I'll tell you, that really messes with your head. It makes you wonder if you really do know anything about what you're doing. Some of the rejections were outright cruel. I had an agent that told me I clearly did not have what it took to sell fiction. That can be very demoralizing. It can be very hard to overcome that. And honestly, when I look back, I'm kind of surprised that I kept going because I really wanted to quit 1,000 times. And I actually did once. That story is up here on my channel. I didn't have a whole lot of support at home. I did have a critique partner that liked my writing, and I think her encouragement helped a great deal. But most of what kept me showing up at the page over and over again was the belief that I was meant to do this. From the second I could read, I wanted to write books. And I desired it so much that I was going to do whatever it took to learn how to write a great book. That's why I started the channel, because I didn't have these resources when I first started out. I started writing 40 years ago. And yes, I am a dinosaur, but the internet didn't exist then. Email didn't exist. YouTube certainly didn't exist. It's so bizarre to think of the world back then versus now. I did not have these resources. There was a few books that you could buy that were about how to write, but there was definitely not this wealth of information and articles and accessible resources for me. A lot of what I learned was self-taught, was really all about taking books, tearing them apart, analyzing them, and really figuring out how the structure works. That gave me a better degree of confidence that I could do it because I could look at that structure and say, all right, I know it needs to go this way. If I can just mimic that structure, not the words, I never plagiarize, but if you can mimic the structure, then at least you know you have the frame right. It's sort of like building a house. If you can at least get the frame right, then the house is going to look decent. You might paint it the wrong color on the outside, but paint can be changed. Words can be changed. The structure is what is most important. So really, really study those so that you feel confident in your ability to build it. The second thing that imposter syndrome does, to me at least, is it gets me right when I start something new. You probably look at me and at my career and all of the books I publish and all this stuff and think, when does she ever get stuck? Pretty much every day. Literally, I'm working on a new proposal right now, and I've had to kind of go back and remind myself how to write a book because I thought, oh, this is too big of a story. I can't manage this. There's too many moving parts. My entire inner self is saying, just quit, go write something else, write something easier, or just don't do it at all. That inner doubt will strongly encourage me to go watch Nobody Wants This on Netflix, or another episode of Love is Blind, or The Great British Bake Off. I have to not listen to that and write anyway. Imposter syndrome also hits you when you're successful. When you finally get a bunch of 5-star reviews, or you sell your book to your dream publisher, or it wins an award, or it hits a bestseller list. That's when imposter syndrome pops its little head up and says, you didn't deserve that. You're not as good as this person. It's never going to happen again. I remember the first time that happened to me. It was very early in my career, first few books. One of them hit a bestseller list, and my editor called me. She was all excited. My agent called me. She was all excited. You did it. You hit a bestseller list. I was absolutely paralyzed with fear. I thought, I have no idea what made that book a bestseller because it didn't seem any different to me than any of the others. And it probably wasn't any different. Bestseller lists are a lot of luck. It's being in the right place at the right time with the right quantity of books when readers are really looking for that. And 99% of that is out of your control. So I sat there paralyzed with fear for probably about 3 days, unable to write because I thought, what if they expect me to do that again? I don't even know what made it happen in the first place. And eventually I told myself that the best thing I can do is to just keep doing what I was doing and hope for the best. Because the truth is about this industry, everything except the words you put on the page is basically out of your control. You can't control if vampires are popular tomorrow or next year. You cannot control if Nora Roberts comes out with a book just like yours on the same day yours comes out. You cannot control if somebody just decides to troll your book and give it a bunch of bad reviews. Yes, you can report it and you can do some things to mitigate the damage, but a lot of that just happens and it is out of your hands. Only thing you have control over is the words you put on the page. And maybe you're thinking, well, they're crappy words. I have imposter syndrome. Remember, they're really crappy words. Just the fact that you worry about it and you have those insecurities tells me that you are going to do the work to put the best possible book together. The book you are writing right now is the best possible book you can write at this exact moment in time. The book you write tomorrow will be a little bit better, and the one you write the day after that will be a little bit better. Every single book you write will be better and better and better. And the only way that can happen is if you actually write the book. You have to feel the fear and write anyways. Literally, feel the fear, keep writing, ignore it. To me, imposter syndrome is a self-protection thing. Nobody likes to be hurt, and nobody likes to be disappointed, nobody likes to fail. And so it's that little voice in your head that keeps you from reaching too far, trying too hard, maybe taking a risk and failing, because your inner self wants to protect you from hurt. So you have to write anyway. Imposter syndrome is bound to happen, and it happens to pretty much all of us. If you listen to talks with top authors, some, not all of them, but some of them will admit that they have imposter syndrome too. And the ones that don't admit it probably have it as well. It's part and parcel of being a creative person and taking something that comes from inside you and putting it out for the world to judge. You have a choice to either let that fear control you and keep you back, or leash it up and use it as a way to spur you to write better and stronger and to finish the book and prove it wrong. I think it's a lot like the monsters in the closet. If you let them out, you can see that they are tameable, that you can work around them. You can keep writing anyways. So let me know in the comments if you feel like sharing what you're afraid of, what you're worried about. Let's let those little internal monsters out of the closet and face them. Feel the fear and write anyway. And if you want some more tips on getting started on your book if you're feeling stuck, check out this video here.